Talking with the experts.
In episode 332, Phillip Fernandez looks at purposeful leadership in today's complex and rapidly evolving business environment.
Exactly. And it's so good now to see with diversity and inclusiveness that there's, and gender equality, that there's a great amount of women in the leadership role as well, which is much needed as well. There's still a long way to go yet, but it doesn't matter how leadership is looked at from a male or female viewpoint. It is about your followers. You know, you can't call yourself a leader if you don't have followers. And you can't buy followers because, you just can't buy followers. So that's not a true leader.
No, it's not.
People follow you because they want to. Now,
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
And welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Today, my guest, Phillip Fernandez, is going to be speaking to us about purposeful leadership in today's complex and rapidly evolving business environment. And purposeful leadership really is something that is quite needed. I think we find a lot of leaders aren't purposeful in the way that they do things. And I guess Phillip is he's had over 30 years experience in the market working for multinationals in Australia and New Zealand, with strong exposure to France, the UK, the USA and Asian markets in general management, human resources and sales directorships. Phillip has a track record of accomplishment in driving strategic change via consensus-backed and with sound corporate principles, vision and innovation. Welcome, Phillip, and thank you so much for joining me today.
well, thank you, Rose, for the invitation. I'm delighted for the invite and looking forward to the podcast.
Terrific. So I guess, how did we start, or how did you start as in your business?
Yeah, it's celebrated just about 15 years now as a self-employed practitioner. But prior to that, of course, as you mentioned, I had vast experience in the corporate life in 3 countries and in the FMCG industry section of it. And that gave me a lot of success in understanding how employees behave and what is the bottom line all about, what makes us tick. Some of it was by default and some of it was educated about it. But, when I came back to Melbourne, they sent me back to Melbourne. I lost the passion in 2006. I was here for 4 years and, of course, decided to start my own business in this space. I mean, what I started with then is quite different to what it is now. When you start, you're a jack of all trades and master of none. And so, what do people want to hire you for? Yes, I had good skills in understanding people and all that. And of course, through the years, I've further educated myself in leadership and in neuro-linguistic programming, which is one of the things I want to talk about today and how we think I can behave. And I put all of that into my modality and how I work with leadership. And how I came about purposeful leadership with research on, the current climate, particularly over the last 2 years, and how leaders have behaved, in an emergency, and everyone wants to do the right thing. I understand that, but it's interesting. You begin to see how certain leaders behave and how what they say, their actions, etc. No one's perfect, I understand. And it makes it interesting. And, having a purpose, I always say, behind your decision and what you stand for is critical. And there's a lot of leaders that, shun away from it. They're a little bit concerned about, maybe what the public thing, what their staff think, and also they think that they should be behaving in a certain way, as leaders should, and that's their first fault, because they're not being themselves.
No, and that's very important when you're in a leadership role. People, don't fake it till you make it. Just be yourself, and people will appreciate that a lot more than if you are false.
Absolutely right. I mean, I always say to people, I don't like faking it till you're making it, because then you're faking it, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
So, how can you be genuinely interested in someone or a project, even if you're not there? How do you create an environment where the recipient feels as if they're the most important thing, they are valued? And that's a skill factor, and a minority, a very few leaders, and they're around, that have mastered that, and they are successful in what they do.
Yeah, so I guess how can we as leaders communicate in a powerful way that brings about employee engagement?
Well, that's how long's a piece of string, but at the end of the day, firstly, one of the things I have is standards and models and traits of what an authentic leader is all about. And yes, we've heard the term authenticity. We've heard what should be an authentic leader. And basically, it's making those tough decisions, or the unpopular decisions that is not necessarily liked maybe by the majority or whatever, but standing by it, provided that it's for the better of the company or the community, or for the state or the country, whatever it might be. It's rather than saying what people want to hear. That's point one. And of course, the other thing that we talk about is the values of where good leaders, what their values and where they come from. Because a decision made by a leader or any person of authority is usually based on the values that they hold, which is not seen in society. It's your values are sort of maybe felt by your interpretation of certain things and what you say about certain things, and people go, well, maybe your value in that means that, and if that resonates with me, I'm okay with that. If that's something different, we have a problem. It's quite interesting. So one of the things that I take a lot of my clients through is what we call the 7 values of leadership. And that's based on the 7 levels of values that we hold in society. And it's quite interesting. And, it goes from value 1 right through to value 7. And this is part of very much the NLP side of things. It's about research has shown that humans work at different values. Most of us leaders and managers work between level 3 and 5. Value 1 is very much base survival and instinct. It's the individual, caveman stuff. And so it's the basic stimulus responses, purely personal satisfaction, what I want to get out of it. Now, you might have seen some of that in the recent riots over the last couple of years, where people have instigated riots for their own personal gain, right? And how people can resort to that. And, the language that they use, and it's quite powerful, some of it going, did you actually say that? So that is very much base level 1. Even though these people are so-called educated, they can stoop to that level. And then, of course, you've got level 2, which is more about the tribal, the family, the clan. It's about belonging to someone. There is, we are as a group, we are as one. Now, the danger thing about that, again, we've seen it in riots in the States here, where one person can actually instigate a group to do something that's not quite right in society. And we are like sheep, we follow. All right. And all of a sudden it gets larger and larger. And so level 1 and level 2 is what we call catastrophe stage, catastrophic. And more the anabolic stage is from level 3 upwards, which is more about expressing oneself in more of a positive way. So level 3 is about self-rule. It's about express yourself, understanding the consequences, etc. And level 4, of course, is about entrepreneurship. It's about taking charge. It's about the system. It's about, how do we work with the system, safety and security. And you can see that a lot of people like to live in that space because we are, particularly employees like to feel safe, like to feel safe within their role in society. And they like a leader to make them feel safe. And as you know, there are cultures out there where they don't feel safe. And so you get a whole lot of different reactions. Level 5 are very much the entrepreneur. And of course, level 6 is all about, they call it saving the whales. It's about being green. It's about doing the right thing. I mean, it's another level completely. So virtually, in most people, most leaders operate between level 3 and level 5. Yeah, and so we take them through this process. It's a 64-page question that I take them through, and then we analyze where their values are. There's no right or wrong answers, but it's understanding what makes them tick and why do they make the decisions. And most of that is based on those values that they have.
Yeah. And you're right about people. I could have one set of, I have one set of values and they may not resonate with you.
Yeah.
So we may not be able to be working together unless we can understand, the values of each of us. And
Yes.
That's always very important as a leader, that you understand the values of the people that are working with you in the team.
I mean, our current Prime Minister, Mr. Albanese, has said we want the Parliament to be kind and respectful. All right. There's 2 words that I thought, wow, I've never seen a politician actually say that. And I tell you what, it's very much needed in our government currently. It's about disagreement is perfectly fine, provided there's respect.
Absolutely, yes.
We can disagree, but I have to respect where your opinion's coming from, and you'll probably return the favor, but we can still disagree.
Yeah, but and disagreement is good because, if we were all the same, the world would be a very sad place.
It would be, yes. I mean, it's so boring, right? I mean, yes. We don't want that. So, going back to being a purposeful leader, these traits might sound simple, but certainly very complex in a lot of people's worlds because of their own personal ego, their values, their belief structure. There's a whole lot of things that drive people to do what they have to do. You look at the world right now and catastrophes, as you know, I won't mention certain countries that are totally off the planet as far as their decision making is concerned.
Absolutely.
And you wonder why, where's that old value basis coming from? And that is definitely at value level 1. Level 2, if you can understand what I'm trying to say. So, but in generally, most society operate between a level 3 and a level 5. Yes, so that's very, very powerful. And of course, the other side of it is, of course, how values form and imprinted. Between 0 and 7, that's the imprint period of, we can learn anything at that stage. We can learn different languages. We can do anything. 7 to 14 is what we call the modeling period. We like to be modeled with certain people. We are very much influenced by others. And from 14 to 21 is the socialization period, where we need to socialize. We need to belong. And of course, 21 and upwards and 35 is the business persona. So this is how the values are formed through the ages. And then on top of that, you have culture, you have beliefs, you have a whole lot of different things that underpin that as well.
So as a leader, how can we remain firm, fair and transparent and clear without fear of being judged or not liked?
Yeah, thank you for reading my notes. Yes, firm, fair, transparent and clear are 4 things that I use in getting people to help them have more belief in themselves in how they manage their employees. When they hear the word firm, they go, oh gosh, do I have to grow horns? Do I have to be different? No, it's nothing to do with that. You can still have your same personality, but it's like drawing a line in the sand. You know, I'm your friend, but this is where it is. You know clearly what is expected of you, and virtually don't cross that line. It's done in a caring way. It's not done in a way that of mistrust, etc. Excuse me. Fair is being obviously treating everyone the same. It's being transparent, which again is not quite seen in a lot of companies and governments, and hopefully now with the current government we're going to see some transparency as well. Transparent, of course, is part of being fair, and clear. Clarity is quite a big thing, because people think they're clear in their directions, but they're not really. You know, and if it's your clarity is the interpretation of the recipient, understanding what you're actually trying to tell them. And so you think that communication is fine, but if they don't understand what you're saying, well, then they probably will not maybe execute that role correctly, their job correctly, etc. So it's about really having a lot of empathy and putting yourself in their shoes, saying, how are they receiving me as a leader, me as in my communication as well.
Yeah, communication is very intrinsic in relationships, because I know I've got a family member who has dementia, and if I'm not clear on how I'm explaining something, they don't understand the instruction.
Yeah.
And so it's like I have to treat them like a child, and like I treated my own children, and explaining it in such a way that it can be understood.
Yes.
It's the same in the workplace. The written, depends on what kind of type of learner you are too. I mean, if you're a visual or an audio learner, it depends on too, how the instruction is worded.
Exactly. You've got visual, audio, or kinesthetic, which is a lot to do with feelings as well. So how people, some people are more feeling. So the language that you use, for example, should be, how do you feel? Might resonate with them better, rather than how do you sound if you're audio, or how does it look if you're if you're visual. So that's very much, from a neuro-linguistic programming point of view about communication as well, which is a science in itself.
It is, yeah. I've got a lot of people who are NLP practitioners and trainers, and I've got one friend who's a master trainer. So it's intriguing. NLP intrigues me in the sorts of languages that you use, and time therapy and all those sorts of things to to calm yourself and get over traumas and things. It's quite an intriguing science.
Exactly. So I use some of the timeline therapy, and I'm a master practitioner as well, and NLP, not so much hypnotherapy, but more that in leadership, unconsciously with my clients. So it puts a different slant on how they look at themselves. So it's quite deep. Yes, you have the traditional, topics on leadership, different styles of leadership, personality profiling, and all that sort of stuff. But when you get to values and you get to how we think, act, and communicate, which is very much NLP, it puts a different slant. But it really is needed in that context, because that's where transformation occurs.
Absolutely. Yes.
As you know, you've had a lot of people in that world, and a lot of people are now finding more about it. And you can use it in any form. Some people use it. The sports people use it a lot. Olympians use that sort of thinking a lot towards sport career advancement. You can use it from a clinical viewpoint as well, in helping addiction and a whole lot of different things. But I've taken it to the business corporate world to help leaders in how they look at themselves and how they communicate and how to become better leaders.
Yeah. And the world sorely needs better leaders. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's, in the political level or at the business level. Leadership is really important. If you're not a good leader, then, you know, either the business is going to fail or your team's not going to be a good team.
Exactly. And it's so good now to see with diversity and inclusiveness that there's, and gender equality, that there's a great amount of women in the leadership role as well, which is much needed as well. It's still a long way to go yet, but it doesn't matter how leadership is looked at from a male or female viewpoint. It is about your followers. You know, you can't call yourself a leader if you don't have followers. And you can't buy followers because, you know, you just can't buy followers. So that's not a true leader.
No, it's not.
People follow you because they want to. Now, if you look at social media today, you look at a whole lot of influencers, you look at people who are not actually managers, but they're actually leaders in a sense, because they've got followers. People want to follow them, provided they have integrity, they have trust, they have ethics in how they hold themselves. People will see that and tend to follow that. To me, that is a form of leadership.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. It's, you know, not the traditional type of leadership, but they're still leaders in their own way.
Exactly.
Phillip, have you read a book by chance on you know, what you teach?
On what I've achieved?
Yeah, or what you teach.
Yes, I do have a book. It's called Extraordinary Leadership for Everyday Managers. Excuse me. Extraordinary Leadership for Everyday Managers. And it's a book about my philosophies and about my time in corporate life. And it's a simple power book. It's a 48-page book, which is bought online. And they can buy it through my website or through Amazon. It's probably easier to buy it through my website because it's local. Yes, it's good reading. You know, I talk about Michael Jackson. I talk about a whole lot of people in there who are unconscious leaders in that respect, because, you know, leadership is a word, you know, and leadership is not something that, well, how do I become a leader? If you're thinking about to become a leader, well, then it's not right. It's not the right way to become a leader.
No, I think it's a natural progression, really, isn't it?
It sure is. It sure is. And some people are more natural. Yes, you still have to upskill yourself. Some people have to work harder at it. But if they have the right context and the right belief structure and are willing to open and learn, they can become good leaders. They become great leaders, provided that they are not out there to influence the public to follow them, rather than looking at the actions they need to take, which is the right things to do, rather than doing the right things.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Phillip, where can people find you if they'd like to know more about your book or yourself, or if they want to work with you?
Yeah, sure. Well, my website is businesswizards.com.au. I've also got a good LinkedIn profile. They can go on to me and type in Phillip Fernandez, and they'll get hold of me there. As well as that, they can go on to Winning Mindset Academy, which is a new NFP, a not-for-profit company I've just developed. It's about helping people in the world to know and to understand that they can win at anything in life if they just put their mind to it. They don't have to come from a privileged background, or, you know, have the title to be able to win in life. And so that's been going well now. And like this, I do those podcasts myself. It's a global initiative. And so that's how people can find me.
Terrific. Thank you so much. And as in closing, have you got anything that you'd like to share with us? Some words of wisdom or some new project other than your academy?
Yeah, it's, I would say that no matter where you are in life, because, I mean, you know, I've been through the corporate career, and in the last 15 years, I've developed this business and wanting to give back to community. And, you know, I want to tell people that it's not how old you really are in life that determines what you can or can't do. Because you can do anything you are at any age in life, provided that you have that self-belief, that confidence, and you want to do something that is purposeful, that is contributing to the community, whatever it might be. It's not all about the money. It's about giving back in society. And it's amazing what you'll achieve.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Thank you, Rose.
All right. You have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again very soon.
Likewise. Thanks for the opportunity. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.